All right. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today? Welcome back to the Count on Joy podcast with your boy Will. And I'm back with another episode today, y'all. And if I'm being honest, y'all, I've been going through it, right? For countless of reasons. But obviously I'm still in school, so I'm going through that. And yeah, that's kind of why the episodes have been. I'm still trying to get out every single week for y'all. But instead of it being the beginning of the week, it's later in the week. Because I just got a lot going on with basketball, school, and other extracurricular things. So trying to navigate all that and still prioritize this as well simultaneously, which is possible and is plausible as well. So, just trying to work out all the kinks and still give, a good message and not just putting out anything. I still want it to be filled with something I'm passionate about, something I really believe in, and something I can actually talk about and I've had experience with, and so forth and so on. Uh, so yeah, I want to preface the episode with that. But yeah, today I will be discussing with you guys about the topic of getting ahead of God. Again, everything I'm talking about on here, I've done myself, or I've experienced myself, or I'm currently going through it myself, whatever that may be, whatever side of the spectrum. And this is something I think is extremely important in our faith and something that a lot of us have to figure out the hard way. I know I have. Uh, Obviously, I was a little bit younger, but I still have to find out the hard way. But getting ahead of God and the effects of that is something that we have to know and be cognizant of as believers and followers of Christ. So I want to get into that today and just give what I've found in my experience and also obviously add biblical context to it. Um, I think the most important thing that we need to know and believe is that God's plan, God has a plan that's best for us. Um, but we have to listen to him. I think a lot of times God will give us the signs, but we ignore them. Or again, we're not cognizant of it, we're not aware, we're not looking for them. God will always show us what he wants us to see. But sometimes when we're so caught up in other things, other worldly things, materialistic things, um, or relationships, platonic or romantic, or friends, whatever, when we're caught up in the wrong things, our judgment and what God wants to show us, sometimes that gets clouded or skewed, or sometimes you just can't see it because you're so focused and immersed into something else that isn't what God wants for you. So I think that's one of the first things. God has a plan that is best for us. We just have to listen and we have to look out for it. Um, I think a verse that goes along with it just a little bit is Isaiah 60, verse 22. This is the NIV version. Uh, the least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly. I'll say that one more time. The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly. So basically, God is saying just in due time, he will give you what he already has for you. He already has it written. He's just saying in due time. When the time is right, you will have it. You don't have to worry about it because when it's ready for you, it's there. I think a lot of times we think that we deserve something earlier than we do. Cause I've been there where it's like, oh, I put in the work, or I've done the research, or blase, or you'll see other people getting something, you're like, oh, I know I deserve it as well. And you're not ready. That's why you don't have it. Because there's other things you're not even recognizing that would have messed you up if you got what you thought you needed or thought you deserved at the time. So I just think that knowing that, again, God has a plan that's best for us, and He's, the old saying, He might not do it on time, or He might not do it when you want Him, but He's right on time. You've heard that, especially in black churches. They spam that. So, uh, yeah, that verse kind of just reaffirms that God is gonna give it to you in due time. You just have to make sure that you're listening to Him and that you're paying attention to His signs. Um, so kind of transition a little bit. I think this is something that I've seen. I've been a victim of, not even a victim. I've done this myself. I guess again, a lot of this stuff I've done when I was younger, but nevertheless I've done it. And then I've also seen my friends back then and currently now do this, where it's kind of stopping them their growth and what they need to do or need to see. But we get ahead of God by listening to other people. Now look, does that mean, am I saying that we can't listen to other people or we can't take counsel from other people? I'm not saying that at all. Let me actually rephrase it. We get ahead of God by listening to the wrong people. Let me say that. Because there's always somebody in your life, or there should be somebody in your life that you can look towards for wisely counsel. Somebody they don't have to be older than you, but a lot of times you want somebody that's older than you, that's lived the life for you, or they've been through what you're going through, or they have experience on the situation or the circumstance, whatever. But I think a lot of times we get ahead of God, we get in our own way by listening to other people. Now, what does that mean? I'm not gonna say any names, but like I said, I have friends who they're going through something or they're not sure what they need to do, and they run straight to Instagram, or they run to TikTok, or they look up a YouTube video. Like, what are we doing? Like, I had look. I had an episode, because I'm not gonna dive into it on this episode because it's not for that. But I had an episode a good bit ago talking about technology and the downfall of technology and how we're so dependent on technology. But let's put this into perspective, right? We're in the time where we have a problem and we look it up on TikTok? Are we serious? Or we go on YouTube? Or we go on Instagram? Like, what are we on? Like, it's crazy to me that that's a real thing. It's just insane. Like, I get it. The videos, okay, I need to figure out how to change a tire. Or my Wi-Fi is tripping. Or something's wrong with my TV. Let me look this up. That's totally different. But we're going on YouTube and TikTok to see what other people that they're probably that's not even probably what they're going through. They're just making up a whole story and you're getting there about. It's just crazy to me. That's just one aspect of it, right? But another aspect of it is people going to, and it might be their friend, it might be someone they're close with, but seeking their advice and they're not giving them godly counsel. So again, I've seen it firsthand where you're trying to figure out, I'm not trying to get into specifics, but you're going through a certain situation and you ask your friend who they're not even on the same path as you as far as their faith walk or their path, which that is fine. Everybody has their own, everybody's on their own walk. But there's just certain counsel and certain advice you shouldn't be seeking from others if you know they're not going to give you a godly view of it. And that's something I've had to learn over time, because there's certain things you can ask your friends, and if they're your friend, they'll give you their honest opinion. But if they don't even have the type of paradigm you have as far as your walk and trying to live for God and everything they're doing, trying to glorify Him, how can you honestly ask them for their advice if that's what you're trying to do? Now, if you're not trying to do that, then that's fine. But if you are, then it's kind of contradictory asking them for the worldly advice and trying to move towards God. It just doesn't. Those things don't coexist to me and for me. So I think that's another thing how we get ahead of God by listening to other people. I'll give you a prime example. I feel like so we could be. I don't know. I'll relate it to sports because obviously I play sports. I love basketball, so we could relate to that. You could ask your friend. You could ask your friend about, okay, this coach. This coach is saying he's trying me, or this coach keeps disrespecting me, or he keeps cursing me out, or blase blase, or whatever, or he's not playing me enough, or whatever the situation may be. You might ask your friend who's immature and y'all might be on the same wavelength or y'all both are growing up. He's like, man, you need to spaz on him. Let him know what it is. Let him know you're not sweet. Blah 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 blah. Let him know you're not going. That's a path that you could take, or you can get wisely counsel from whoever that may be. In this case, we'll just say a mom, and she tells you, look, you need to be. First of all, you need to respect this coach. He's still your coach. It doesn't matter what he's doing or what he's doing or how he's doing it. You can't control that. All you can control is your response to it, and you still have to act in a godly way. So you can't fight fire with fire. You have to move forward and let God deal with whatever that situation is. God's gonna take care of you as long as you're doing your part. So you could take either path, but I think sometimes we get in our way because look, what if we would have stuck it out? Let the coach say what he's saying. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it. All right, for sure. Keep it pushing. Then maybe you never know. Maybe a week later, he's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I was acting crazy. I was going through something. I apologize. I'm starting you next game. I'm not saying that was a scenario. I don't even know if that would ever happen. I'm just giving it. I was just saying that might be a scenario, right? But you got ahead of God because you're trying to take it to your own hands. You're trying to take it to your own account, your own power, which we don't have any power without God. So I think that's another thing we need to remember. We're powerless without God. So that was kind of a trash example, but I wanted to just give a little example of how we could listening to other people, especially when it's not wise and godly counsel, how that can mess us up in the long run. I think we get it. I think another way we get ahead of God is by being impatient. I'm extremely impatient. I've been working on my patience. I'm currently working on my patience now. But a lot of times I get impatient. And not even more so as far as like the future, which I can a little bit. But I'm talking about like day to day, like in a conversation. And on the road driving, in the line, in the checkout line of Kroger, stuff like that, where I get impatient, and that's like a little small thing, but it bleeds into other things. So I think we get ahead of God by being impatient when we're not letting Him work. When we try to take things into our own hands, like, oh man, it's taking too long. Okay, I'm gonna just do this, whatever. I'm gonna just go ahead and do this because this might not work. Look, if you guys have been following along with my podcast, I've told a lot of stories, and specifically with basketball. But I think me being a little bit more patient, over the time, especially with basketball recruiting and stuff like that, it got me to where I was. Because if I was being impatient and I just went off the first thing, or I was just like, I can't wait any longer, I just need to do this, I'd be in a whole different situation. I might not even be doing this right now. So you just never know. I know being impatient, we get ahead of God by being impatient. And if we can't wait and trust that God has it worked out, and like I said, it's easier said than done, and it's no perfect science to it, because every situation is different. Everybody's chasing their own dreams. Everybody has their own circumstances, so it looks different for everyone. But if you really sit down and analyze and look in the mirror and ask God, He'll show you when you are doing too much, when you are being impatient, when you are getting ahead of Him, when you are listening to the wrong people. He'll show you that. But again, it just varies from situation to situation. But again, if you're being impatient when you're trying to speed up the process. And again, I'm not even saying as far as, because I was watching, this is kind of off topic, but it is on topic. I watch a lot of sports. I was watching ESPN, I was watching First Take, and Jason Tatum was on there with Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith was just assuming that Jason Tatum was done for the season. Like, he's not going to play this year. But Jason Tatum was like, look, I said this already, but I'm not done. He's like, I'm not ruling out this year. He's like, obviously, the most important thing is coming back 100% healthy, but I don't do 6 days of rehab for no reason. Like, I'm trying to, if I can't get back this year, I want to play this year. I brought that up to say because he's trying to expedite the process, but I don't think he knows if he's forcing it or he's doing too much. But just because he's doing everything he can in his physical power to expedite the process, I don't think that's against God. I think that's him just, he is trying to expedite the process, but he's doing it. I don't think he's getting ahead of God like that. I don't think, unless he's overdoing it, he's not listening to his body. But I don't think he's doing that. He's a professional athlete at the highest level. So I think in that aspect, you can expedite the process in that area. But I think as far as like the future and trying to figure out real life decisions that impact not just you, but the people around you, I think being patient is extremely important and significant. Because when we are impatient and we try to just forget it, I'm going to just go this way, or I'm going to just do this, it messes us up in the long run. Another thing that we get ahead of God by is our fear of failure. I think let's talk about fear for a second. Just for a second, though. Again, I kind of mentioned, I don't remember which episode it was, but one of my favorite professors of all time, who's my current professor, Dr. Warner, at my school that I'm at now, and we talked about in our classes about fear and everything. Most of the sins, if not all of them, that we do, it stems from fear of countless of things. But again, we get ahead of God by our fear of failure. I think when we're scared to mess up, or we're scared to fail, we're scared to fall, it gets us in trouble. Everyone is going to fail. Everyone is going to get something wrong. Everyone's going to make a wrong move eventually. But if we're scared to do that, and we're just like, look, I'm going to just take this because I'm going to just take this easy route, because I know this other route might be a little bit more risque. I think we're getting ahead of God, because God might want you to take that road less traveled, because there's a greater outcome for you. But when you're scared of failing, scared of messing up, scared of taking those risks, in a sense, we might miss out on something greater that God has for us. So I think that's another way we get ahead of God, by our fear of failure. We can't be scared to mess up. We can't be scared to fail. We can't be scared to somebody telling us no. Like, I think that, look, put it like this, because I know this from experience. So I was trying to find an internship. I was gonna go back to basketball, but I was thinking with this, and I might go back to basketball after this example. But I was trying to find an internship a couple summers ago. Wait, was it last summer or a couple summers ago? It don't even matter. I'll just say last summer. Not this summer that passed, but the summer before. Anyway, I'm emailing all these different type of radio stations, TV stations, trying to get an internship place there, or a position rather. And nobody was responding. And, there could have been two ways to go about it. Like, okay, well, I'm going to just work at Kroger for the summer, because people keep telling me no. So why would I keep, or Sprouts, work at Sprouts. Why would I keep emailing them? Like, people just keep telling me no. But I didn't. I kept emailing places. I kept trying to find a place. I wouldn't take no for an answer, in a sense. Just trusting that God, he was going to tell me when I needed to stop. And eventually I ended up getting an internship at a TV station or whatever. But I think that's again, that example maybe wasn't as great, but if my fear of getting denied was at the forefront, I wouldn't have gotten that internship job because I would have been too scared of somebody telling me no, or somebody denying me, or somebody saying I wasn't qualified, and so forth and so on, or somebody basically saying they doubted my abilities or whatever it may be. Um, so I think that the fear of that, we get in the way. We get ahead of God by that. We get ahead of God by that type of fear and our fear of failing. Uh, I think we get ahead of God by our unbelief. Look, if we don't have faith, if we don't have unwavering faith, life is going to be extremely hard. If you don't have faith in God, it's going to be tough, especially when you're trying to follow Him. Because when you're trying to follow Him and live for Him, the devil's going to keep coming at you. The devil's going to keep trying to get you. He's going to keep trying to work his way into your everyday life. And if you don't have faith in God and you don't trust and believe in His promises, it's going to be really tough for you. So that's why I said we get ahead of God by our unbelief, because when we don't trust that He could perform miracles, when we don't trust that the situation might be bad right now, but just wait a little bit longer, just endure this pain for a little bit, and I got you. When we don't trust that He already has that for us, then we get ahead of Him. Then we're like, I can't do this. We give up, or we quit, or we turn to something else, or we bow out. Like, I've seen it firsthand. I have seen it firsthand where it's like people give up too early, or they don't fully immerse themselves. And I don't know if immerse is the right word, what I'm trying to portray, but when they don't fully, I guess I'll just say, give their all into what they're doing, because they don't fully believe, they're listening to, again, this goes back to what I was talking about before, they're listening to other people. If I listened to my coaches in high school, I would have not played college. If I would listen to some of my teachers, I would not play college basketball. You know how many times I've heard growing up, 1.5% go to play college basketball, or 0.7. Like, I don't know why I did that accent, because nobody has told me that sounds like that, but whatever. If I listen to that advice, and I listen to that, and if I let that just sit in my head, and that was at the forefront, I would not be where I'm at. And I've had friends who literally, that messed them up because of stuff like that. Where coaches that are supposed to pour into you, and teachers as well. Teachers that are supposed to pour into you, and coaches are teachers. Teachers, coaches. Teachers are coaches. I think they're both intertwined. I've had friends that listen to that, and they're so consumed with that and that mindset that it leads to unbelief. Like, man, I can't do this. It's not even possible. Like, how am I going to do this? This is not in reach. And that is how we get ahead of God, by our unbelief. And also, I just said it earlier, listen to others that could also lead to unbelief. Listen to other people telling you what you can and can't do. Nobody can tell you what you can't do. I remember my mom told me, she said this, I was young, and I see her doing it with Jace, because Jace, my little brother, whatever, I already said his name. I don't know if I've ever disclosed his name on here. I probably have. I definitely have. I'm wilding. Anyway, Jace, my little brother, I haven't said his name in a while. That's why I was like caught off guard a little bit. All right, let me get back to it. Jace, I see her doing it with Jace now, because Jace will be like, I can't do it. And it might just be something small. I'm telling him to do some pull-ups. He's like, I'm telling him to do one more. He's like, I can't. My mom always told us, told me since I was a kid, never say what you can't do. You never say what you can't do. Now, obviously, if you can't tell yourself what you can't do, you better not let anybody else tell you what you can't do. So I think it's the same thing. All that leads to unbelief and in yourself, but most importantly, not believing that God can do it. Because we can't do anything in our own power anyway. So it's not like we're doing it ourselves. Obviously, God gives us the power to work towards our goals and our dreams, our aspirations, and whatever. But we're not doing it anyway. So if we're doubting ourselves, we're doubting God's power. And we're gonna look. It's inevitable. We're human, so we're gonna doubt sometimes. But as soon as we feel that emotion, we need to nip it in the bud because it doesn't lead to anything. It just leads to unbelief. And again, we get ahead of God by that. Um, I think we pay a penalty when we don't wait on God. So again, all this is really intertwined. I'm just trying to like give different examples and different pinpoints on it. But we pay a penalty when we don't wait on God. When we're not, kind of what I said earlier, when we're not patient, when we just, when we just pick the first thing we see, or uh, when something goes bad, or a trial comes along, or a tribulation comes along, we're like, I can't do this. I'm gonna just go to something else. This is too much for me. We pay a penalty, and we don't get to see. I want to say the fruits of our labor, but I can't even say fruits of the labor because if you bow out, then you gonna get the fruits of your labor. Your labor was nothing at that point. You gave up, so you didn't get to see the fruits of it. But or your fruits weren't plentiful, basically. Or what I'm trying to say. But I say we pay a penalty when we don't wait on God because we're not even we if we're not enduring the pain and enduring the trials and tribulations, we're not going to be able to see the light at the tunnel. You might have been that part where, yeah, it was just straight dark at that moment. But you could have gone a few more miles and you get to see the end. You get to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You get to see what God has for you. Now it's in reach. But we pay a penalty when we don't wait on God. We don't get to get our full blessing that God had for us because we gave up. So I think a verse that goes in there that coincides with that is Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. I'm going to say it again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That is self-explanatory, but I'll explain it. All we have to do is wait. All we have to do is be, again, I mean, they say it, the verse says it, but be still. We have to wait for God. Just be patient. Just trust him. Know that God's going to work it out for us. Know that he has everything covered. We don't have to stress about it, even though sometimes we might. But again, when you have those human emotions, we have to nip them in the bud and we have to put them to the back burner. Because if we let those emotions, our human emotions, consume our thoughts and consume our actions and consume our our day to day, it's gonna mess us up. So that's what I'm saying. We pay a penalty when we don't wait, when we're not still, when we're not sitting in God's presence, when we're not, all right, Lord, this is tough, but it's all right. I know you got me. I'm gonna keep it pushing. I know this hurts, but I'm gonna keep it pushing. I know you got me. When we're not doing that, we pay a penalty for it, and the penalty is not receiving the full blessing that God had for us. God's still gonna bless us, but when we don't wait for him and wait on his timing, we don't get to see the full blessing that he had for us. And that's something that's really, I think of the story, man, I forgot the person's name, but who was it? I'm mad I forgot. I don't want to say the wrong name. I want to say it was Abraham, but don't quote me on it. I don't think it was Moses. It might have been Abraham. Anyway, when the I want to say it was Abraham. I'm messed up about it though. But basically, it was a person in the Bible where he had like a stick, and the people were complaining because they're like, God, you have us in this wilderness. We don't have food. We don't have this or that. Or we're eating the same thing. Or, we're struggling. Like we would rather stay because he had them leave. He had them leave. I don't know if it was Abraham or it was Moses. I'm tripping. Anyway, I'm going to be mad because I'm going to look back after this and I'm like, man, I forgot the dude's name. Anyway, basically, he had, it was the group of people and they were leaving from the place they were coming from. And they were basically like, man, we would rather been a slave than do this. We're not getting anything. We're in this wilderness, blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't, like, this is terrible. They're complaining to God, right? And I want to say this was for 40 years. Again, I'm tweet. I'm mad. I don't remember this like the exact date, the exact intricate details. But let me just get to the point. Anyway, the people were complaining, and they're like, God, like you're not doing it for us. Like they're mad. So the person who was like basically leading them, again, I don't remember bro's name, but he basically had a stick, and God told him to just tap the rock, um, with the little stick, and water's gonna fall out. But the dude who was leading them, he was kind of irritated, I guess, too, and he like hit the rock OD hard, and water started to fall out. But God, he didn't say he hit it that hard, because now it looked like you did it, and it was with your power. So they're like, so then you're taking away from what God was. God was trying to show them that He was there for them. That look, I have it covered. Y'all are wilding right now. Y'all need to lock in. Look, this water is from me. I'm giving it to y'all just off this tap of this stick. But bro didn't do that. He hit it hard and tried to make it seem like it was in his power. Because of that, he couldn't. God didn't let him dwell in the promised land when they got to the promised land. He let him see it. But he didn't let him get in the promised land. I brought that up because we pay a penalty. I'm mad. I'm really mad. I'm gonna ask my mom when she get home, because I'm really mad that I don't remember the dude's name and all the intricate details. This is a story I've heard throughout my whole life. But yeah, God let him see the promised land that He had for everybody, but He didn't let him actually be able to live in it because he didn't wait on God. He wanted to expedite the process. He wasn't being still. He was trying to do it in his own way. So when we do that, we pay a penalty. And I brought that up because, that is biblical. That's in the Bible. Bro paid a price because he didn't wait on God. He was trying to do it in his own power. He was trying to expedite it. He wasn't being still. God was fighting for him, but they didn't feel like that. And then it led him to do things like that. And then he paid a price for it in the end. So that's the example I had. I wanted to bring that up. I'm mad I don't remember his name. I don't remember if it was Moses or Abraham. It might have been somebody else, honestly. Anyway, I think transition a little bit. I'm still kind of thinking that. I'm sorry. I'm done. We deny ourselves God's best when we get ahead of God. So kind of what I just said. We don't receive the greatest blessing He has for us when we get ahead of Him. So when we don't wait for Him, when we're not still, we don't get to see what God's best is for us. We still get blessings because God's going to take care of us, but we don't get to see the greatest of it. We delay God's purpose in our life when we get ahead of God. So this is something that, again, can apply in everyone's life. Everyone has a purpose, and our purpose in life is to glorify God, to spread the gospel, so forth and so on. To be a light, a beacon of God's light, and to be able to impact others. That's the baseline for everyone's purpose. But like I said in another episode, everyone has a different vehicle to fulfill that purpose. You could be fulfilling that purpose working at Lowe's. I'm serious too. Like it doesn't. It's not a perfect science to it. It's not just one way. There's plenty of ways, a plethora amount of ways to fulfill that purpose. And we delay God's purpose in our life when we get ahead of God. So when we take it upon ourselves to be like, I'm not doing this, or man, I don't feel like waiting for all this. This is too much. Or we feel like it's taking too long, or we're impatient. We delay God's purpose in our life. Sometimes we don't figure out our purpose in our life until we're 50, 60. Until we're on our last leg. We don't want to do that. You want to be able to live your majority of your life. Because a lot of times we're not going to figure out our purpose in our life until later on. Our real purpose. You might have, God's going to give you signs. He's going to give you desires. He's going to show you what you're good at. He's going to show you your gifts. But we might not know until later on. Some people find out early. Some people find out later. But we delay God's purpose in our life. when we get ahead of God. And how do we get ahead of God? I told you. We get ahead of God by listening to the wrong people. We get ahead of God by being impatient. We get ahead of God by our fear of failure. We get ahead of God by not having unwavering faith, by having unbelief. All those things, it forces us to move ahead of God. And again, when we get ahead of God, we delay our purpose in life. And sometimes we don't figure out until later on. And it's never too late, but it's just later than what it could have been. And you could have had a lot more years of, being fulfilled. I think another thing too, we experience disappointments when we get ahead of God. I know the first thought that comes to my mind, but I'm not gonna say it. But I think a lot of times when we rush into things, when we, again, just take the first thing we see, when we settle, when we compromise, and compromise is not a bad thing, but when we compromise our beliefs and our values, our core beliefs for somebody else, I think that's something I've seen my whole life, especially once I got to high school, once I got to college. When we're compromising what we believe in for somebody else to not even compensate, but to appease how they feel or what they want, and what they want is not really the best thing, and we're compromising what we believe in, what we know to be right for them, we experience disappointments. And we get ahead of God. So when we're doing that, we're getting ahead of God, and we're going to experience a lot of sadness, disappointment, so forth and so on, because we're getting ahead of God in that way. We're like, well, okay, I want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. I know it's not the right person, but I want to be in a relationship. So I'm going to just whatever. And you're going to experience a lot of disappointment with that. That's why a lot of people, they wonder why they're in such bad relationships, or they're wondering why they're in such bad situations. And this could be a job you took, this could be a relationship you're in, this could be anything. But they wonder why, because they got ahead of God. They just, hey, this might not be the best thing for me, whatever. The money's good or whatever. You're going to experience a lot of disappointments with that, and a lot of disappointments in that, and it's not going to be the best thing for you. Wrapping up, again, I wrap up my episodes with the same thing because it will always be true. And actually, we were talking about in class today the power of it. And somebody had the professor, Dr. Warner, again, shout out Dr. Warner, he posed the question: when we pray, are we praying to change our own minds or to change God's mind? Me, automatically, we're not changing God's mind, but somebody in class said God's mind. And I said, well, we're trying to change our minds. And I gave an example of me. I said, the more I pray every day and more frequently every day, and my mind continues to change. It continues. I gain more empathy. I gain more love towards other people. I gain more wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Obviously, I'm praying for those things, but then also I start off my prayers with thanking God for what He has done, for what He is doing, for what He will do. And I think when we that aspect alone in prayer, and that's obviously not the only part of prayer, but thanking Him for the things He's done for us and thanking Him in advance, that gives us a sense of gratitude, and it heals your heart and gives you a sense of peace. And when you remind yourself of those promises that God has for us and that He's promised us, it changes your mind. It changes your mindset. It changes your paradigm. It changes your point of view on things, because you're like, well, God's going to work it out. I'm cool. Anyway, I brought that up because, yeah, I'm transitioning to prayer. We have to pray and ask God what He wants for us and what His will for us is. We have to pray and ask God what He wants for us and what His will is for us. Again, it's self-explanatory. We get ahead of God when we try to act like we know what we need. We don't know what we need. We don't know what is for us. We only know when God tells us, when we ask Him. When we're going about our day-to-day and not seeking God's counsel and not yearning for God's wisdom, knowledge and understanding and discernment, bad things happen. So that's why I said we have to pray and ask God for what he wants and what his will is for us, because you might want something really bad. And again, I started off this pod by saying I'm going through a lot right now, and it's literally I'm trying to apply what I'm talking about. It's something that I really want, and I believe it's for me, but I need God to show me whatever his will is for me. It might not, I really might want it really bad, but that doesn't mean that's his will for me. And I have to be content with that. Even though I feel like he's telling me it's for me, but I need God to show me his will for me, and he's going to show it in due time. And again, I'm trying to apply Exodus, the verse. You just need to be still. God will fight for you. So I think in that, just trying to stay in it and stay disciplined, stay diligent in your faith, and know that God's going to work it out. We might want something really bad. We might think we need something, but God has different plans, and he has a different route for us. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, y'all. Not getting ahead of God, not rushing the process, being patient, taking your time. I think a lot of times, I think another thing too in this generation is, this generation is so cooked, and that's why I'm scared to raise kids, and I'm scared for my little brother, because just the way this world is, and the way so much access to everything, and it just people. That's why all these mental stuff is coming out, because we have so much access to too much, and it's if you let it, it will drown you. It will consume you. So, I brought that up because, we'll see. We think that we're trying to get this quick money. We're trying to get the fast money. We're trying to get quick success. We think we need to be rich by 25. We're a failure. Like, that's not how life works. And we just have to be patient. We can't get ahead of God. We can't speed up the process. We can do what we need to do by building towards our dreams, our aspirations, our goals. But we can't try to take into our own hands, and that's something my mom always told me. Cause I'm I'm always be in the gym. I'm never not gonna be in the gym, especially with basketball, as far as getting my shots up, working out, whatever. I feel like I need to touch the ball every day. If I don't, I feel like I'm wilding, which I am wilding if I don't. So that's why I touch the ball every day. But my mom, it was getting to a point, especially freshman year. I was trying to take it into my own power. I was going to the gym like 5-6 times a day. I have an 8 a.m. Before the a.m. I go to the gym. After the 8 a.m. I'm going to the gym. I'll go to class sweaty. After that class, come back to the gym. Like, just doing too much. I end up getting hurt because of it. Like, just doing too much. Trying to take it to my own power. I'm not saying you can't work hard, but you have to be smart about it as well. You can't think it's only on you. It's not. God gives us the power to do things, but we don't really have any power. We're really powerless. So we can use our abilities to help ourselves, but the most important thing is depend on God and knowing that he's going to take care of it. And doing our part is working hard, is being diligent, is being determined, is all of that entails being motivated, or being motivated, that entails all of that. Or working hard, that entails all that, whatever, or doing your part rather. But that doesn't mean overdoing it or trying to take it to your own hands, because that is getting ahead of God, and that's something I've had to learn firsthand. So that's what I want to talk to y'all today. I hope you guys learn from this. I hope you guys can apply this to your life, apply this to your everyday life, and maybe this helps some of y'all. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for listening, man. I appreciate all the love, all the attitude, all the gratitude. But yeah, y'all. Again, I'm sorry for the people that do listen. Again, it's been a rough week in general, but just trying to navigate school, basketball, all of that stuff, and still trying to get this out at the right time. And actually not just talk about anything, but talk about something that's dear to my heart, and something that I can be passionate about, and actually give real I don't want to say counsel like I'm some, I guess it is counsel, but something that I could talk about with you guys and discuss with you guys about, something I can actually give good I guess advice on, or give my own personal experience as well. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, share, Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow the Apple Podcast page. Follow the Spotify podcast page. Follow my Instagram. It's called Count All Joy Podcast. All of that stuff is on my, all of my links are on my Instagram bio. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll find the YouTube. I recently made a TikTok, so all my TikTok videos are on there. So yeah, if you guys can support those, comment on those, like it up, whatever. Just show love. I appreciate that. But yeah, y'all, I thank y'all for tuning in, man. I appreciate y'all. Stay blessed, stay prayed up, keep God first. Love, attitude, gratitude, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.